Hi friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. I didn't realize that flight was so short and wouldn't last the length of the song. Welcome to Whoop Wednesday, damn it. We are going to put higher kV motors on the rig that you were just looking at. Currently, so that's the Walksnail Mobula 6. Currently it is on Tiny Whoop 0702 30,000 kV motors. We are going to move it over to the brand new Weebleed FPV Screamers, which are 0702 32,500 kV. So we're going to put it over into these. We'll fly it before, and then we'll fly it after, see if we can tell a difference. There should be a difference. I've tested 30,000s versus 32,000s quite a bit, both Tiny Whoop motors, and yeah, there was a little bit of a difference there. So we should get a little bit extra out of it, but we'll see. I assume that with this thing being heavier, the difference will be even easier to tell. But you know, let you know soon enough. We're also going to try to fix the snowblowers. My dad sent me a little tiny metric tap kit. And I was messing around with these on Monday's live stream, and with the regular tap, it's got a pointed kind of head on it, and it's poking up into the windings. So I hit one of the M1.2s with a Dremel to flatten the top out. So we'll see if that does any better. I might also break out the M1.4 little tap for the one hole that did get stripped out, to see if maybe I can repair that, and thread it 1.4, and then maybe I don't know if I have any 1.4 screws, but maybe once it's threaded 1.4, a 1.2 screw will catch a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. I really want to get this thing back up in the air. This is the Jungle Gym Basher, and yeah, I really want to fly these snowblower motors, but yeah, unfortunately, there's something going on. I haven't heard back from Jesse yet, so well, we'll talk more about it once we kind of dive into it. In the chat, CMYKFPV was first, Riot 9 was second, Douglas Otwell, Danzel, the Terrible Stavel, Frank Nicholas, Riot 9, J Drones, CH3FPV, Flush FPV, Northern Tier, Mick Mucus, Hockey Rounds, Ram Donko, Troy Prelog, Andrew DeCavia, McMucus again, Troy again, Storm Rider, CH3, Danzel, what's up everybody? Thanks for coming, thanks for hanging. Yeah, we're going to fly a little bit of Walksnail live, which will be fun. It's always interesting. And we're going to fart around with some other stuff. If we have time, I will change the motors out on the Tiny Lifter to the RC and Power 1002 14,000s. Basically, what I need to do is open these guys up, desolder the existing motor wires, and solder on a set of the Newbie Drone specific motor wires for use with the Newbie Drone BLV3 AIO that's in the Tiny Lifters. So yeah, got a bunch of stuff going on. Should be fun. Hey, We Bleed FPV now has the ultimate AIO. They've got the Happy Model F4, whatever the hell it's called, ELRS. It's the one that you want. It's the full-size AIO. It's got ELRS. It's got a built-in VTX. They're calling it version 3.1. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what gyro it has on it. Let's see. Maybe they let Zotac know. So we're going to go into the shop, and we're going to go to flight controllers. Zotac just got him in today, so he might not have him up here yet. Betafpv. This is it. He's got, man, he is quick. This guy is quick on the scene. So there it is, ELRS F4 2G4 V3.1. Wiring diagram here, really nice. Oh, that's interesting. I've made that mistake before. It says pay attention to the antenna plug. Don't make it touch other components. Yeah, that is very important to pay attention to that. Let's see. Is there any... Here we go. V1 and V3 version update log. Here we go. V3.1 comes with the ICM 2689. The version 3.3 comes with the BMI 270 or the ICM 42688 gyro due to MPU6000s being discontinued. Onboard VTX changed to Open VTX support. That's pretty cool. Pre-installed Betaflight firmware which supports ELRS v2.0. Very cool. And all right, so this says, do you have a choice? This says V3.1, V3.3. So yeah, I don't know which one's actually going to get sent to you, but the BMI 270 gyro is completely fine. The ICM 2689, I've had a couple of tiny whoops on, which is fine. I don't know about the 42688P. I don't really know anything about this one. Let's take a quick look. Joshua has a video. Love that. Let's see what Reddit has to say. Get the good issues. Board is not designed specifically for it. Same problem here. Board gyro combo is unusable. All right, so the 42688 is not off to a great start. Here's the pay. Here it is on TDK. Let's see if we can figure out what the hell's going on here. Better not be 32K. Full scale gyro sensitivity, gyro rate noise. Who in chat knows about this gyro? Who in, I can't keep them straight anymore. 42688. What do you guys know? Is this the one that's really, really, really sensitive? What's it say in here? Tell me the gyro rate. I'm assuming it's 8K. I'm assuming it's an 8K gyro. Yeah, 8 kilohertz. There we go. ODR and sample sync. 8K, 8K. Oh, here we go. Here we go. No, it's a 32K. Okay, that sucks. 42688. So that's the problem. There you go. I was looking at 8K here, which is the 40607. Over here are the 42688s, and yeah, you can see down here that they're 32K. So hopefully the gyros in the hopefully the gyros in the ones that Zotac got are, Jesus, what a spec sheet. Have the BMI 270 or the 2689. 2689, I should say. 20689. Very cool. Good to know. In the chat, if you want to talk directly to me, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you do that, it'll light up an orange, and I'll know that you're talking to me. What's this? Walking, snail, gorilla whoop? Person, snail, gorilla whoop? Human, snail, human scale, gorilla whoop? Is that it? Northern Tier tagged me and said, yo, CiottiFPV and gang, happy hump night for sure. CMYK says, yo, CiottiFPV and gangly gang. Also says, Weebleed has Happy Mountain ELS 4 flight controller in stock. They do indeed. Stavel FPV says, good evening. Northern Tier, we got that one. McMuka says, my ELRS module quit working and I leave in Peru in 15 hours. Anything I could try to get it working. Depends on what. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I would pull it apart and look for something that's blown up. Anybody near McMucus, start posting everywhere and anywhere. See if anybody local has another ELRS module. But yeah, that's incredibly frustrating. Sorry, dude. Andrew DeCavia says, got our 3 Mobula 6s on order, 1 for parts, went ahead and got a lot of the ultimate upgrades ordered too. Very, very cool, Andrew. He says, what goggle antenna would you recommend to go with those recommended TrueRC receiver antennas? I'm a big fan of all the TrueRC antennas. So yeah, if I had my choice, I would just, I do. I put TrueRC singularities on everything. Depending on the goggles. So I mean, if you want to go all in on TrueRC, they make patch antennas and whatnot. I don't know what goggles you've got. I don't know what module you've got. If you've got a module that has 2 ports on it for diversity, or whatever the hell Rapid Fire calls it, stitching or whatever, you can put a patch antenna on the bottom and then an Omni on top. This gives you kind of the best of all worlds. The patch antenna is very strong directly in front of you, and then the Omni antenna on the long cable is up above your head so that you get Omni coverage back behind yourself and then 360 degrees. So yeah, this TrueRC with a 90-degree SMA here and the long cable is about as good as it gets. Whether you run a patch or not is another kind of story. If you, I like this Menace RC patch mainly because it's purple. It's also a completely fine patch. TrueRC does have patches though, and I've been very tempted to try one of them, which is called the X-Air. So most patches have a narrow but strong beam. So you'll get really, really, really good coverage really far away as long as you're like right in front of yourself, basically. If you're not doing long-range stuff, TrueRC makes a patch antenna that takes that beam and makes it a lot wider. So it has better gain and better signal strength in front of you than an Omni, but it's not so focused out in front of you. So like if you're just flying around the house, or if you're just not going super far, the X-Air is a really good choice. And this is what it looks like. That's not the one. Hold on, let's see. Journeys, what the hell is that? So we're gonna go to 5.8 because that's what our analog video transmits on. So we want receiver, let's try receiver long range. I don't think it's gonna be in the long range section though. Here it is, MX Air 5.8 receiver short range. So yeah, this would probably be the best option for tiny whooping. As you can see here, the Hemi X Air, or MX Air for short, is a hemispheric antenna. Hemispheric means half sphere, or an antenna with true 180-degree coverage. So as you can see by the donut here, it's really strong right out in front, and it's got a lot of strength here on the sides too. And then you look here and you can really see the pattern, really, really, really strong directly in front, but then look how much it covers out on the sides here. Patch antennas don't usually do that. Patch antennas usually have this more of like an oval. Let's actually take a look at a different one to show you what a normal patch antenna kind of does. So we will pick the, oh, that's a double. That's an M. That's still the MX. Let's just pick the, this is a more standard. Oh, he doesn't have the radiation pattern for this one. Looks like there is one for this. This is the X2. Shrunken down X-Air, nothing besides its size. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, this is, I don't know why they have, oh, this is interesting. Hold on. Following the latest improvement X-Air MK2, shrunk down X2 Air is nothing less than the original besides size. Following the latest improvement, I think this has one of each. I think this has the wide one and a narrow beam. Hold on. Oh, no. I see. Okay, so it's horizontal versus vertical. So it has a really wide horizontal. This is interesting. It has a 150-degree wide beam width on the horizontal, but then it only has a 62-degree beam width on the vertical. Very interesting. Well, so this might be perfect. So the horizontal beam width is 150, right? So let's take a look at the MX Air and see what the horizontal beam, see what the total beam width is. Oh my God, the beam width is 180 on this one. So okay, it's even wider, but this is a great. This will show you what the difference is between a normal patch antenna and the MX Air. So a normal patch antenna is going to look a lot like this, where you get really good coverage out in front here, where this green oval is, but then you don't get much coverage on the sides or in the rear. The MX Air is a similar beam pattern to this, where it's a much more circular beam pattern. You can see it's got much better coverage out on the sides. This is actually only 150 degrees. The MX Air is 180 degrees, so you would see the green coming all the way over here. But yeah, this is a great illustration of a standard patch antenna versus a wide beam patch antenna. Your next question might be, well, why not just run two Omni antennas? And basically, like, with antennas, nothing is for free, right? If you get better gain facing forwards, you're going to lose gains on the side. There is no way just to have an antenna that gets the best possible gain 360 degrees. It just doesn't work that way. So the 180 degree patch antenna is going to work better than any Omni antenna, because it's just the way that it is with antennas. If they have Omni coverage, they're sacrificing coverage in any one specific direction in order to get 360 degree coverage. So that's kind of what's going on. And that's why, in my opinion, you run one Omni and one patch. This particular Menace patch is more focused straight out in front of myself, but I run analog on a bunch of different quads, some of which are 3 and 5 inch, and they go really far. So out of kind of laziness, but also out of not wanting to constantly be removing the antenna over and over again, this is like a nice middle ground that really works well for me. I don't like, SMAs do wear out over time and they get dirty. So for me, I try to leave antennas on at all times. That way the SMA doesn't get worn out or dirty. Technically speaking, though, I should have an even higher, even narrower gain. Well, I do. I have this big giant bastard from Immersion RC, which is 13 dBi. So if I was ever going to do like super long range shit, this is what I would put on. And this is a Spyro net, so this is gonna be very narrow but very strong on the beam width. It's also gonna make me look like a complete moron, but that's okay. You know, we already look kind of stupid. So technically speaking, for long range missions, I should be using this. For medium range stuff, this guy's good. And then I should get one of those MX Airs for everything else, basically. Short range stuff, let's just say. And I've been meaning to get one of these MX Airs, but they're $30, and like, realistically, I'm not going to take this patch off to put that on all the time. And this one's purple. So, you know, it wins. I know that sounds insane. That's because it is insane, but, you know. Menace makes really good antennas, too. They're a good group of guys. If you're going to go down the Walksnail road, Menace makes the cheapest set of patch antennas to put on your Walksnail or Fat Shark goggles. I think it's like $30 for the both of these, and they're the exact same design as this purple one, and this purple one's been really good to me for a long time. I do want to change these top antennas. These guys came with these goggles. I don't know what they are. I think they're maybe made by iFlight. I just, you know, antennas are expensive. At some point I'll do an order, and there will be a set of left-hand circular polarized antennas that I like. I would really like to replace these with True RCs. They make them in gray. It'll look cool. But just, yeah. I have not done an order where there's been a set of Omnis and I've cared to buy them. A set of Omnis in stock. Antennas are often out of stock. It's very annoying. So, yeah. What else? What else is happening? What else is happening, chat? Let's get caught up here. Where are we at? Great question, Andrew. Ramdago says, the tiny word on your t-shirts looks massive. It's a massive tiny whoop. I'm a tiny whoop. That's just the way it is, man. I like it that way. I'd rather be a tiny whoop than a big whoop. You know? Ain't nobody want to be a big deal. What a pain in the ass that is. Chat just did the thing. Rick McKinney says, hey. We believe FPV is in the house. What's up, Zotech? He says, hey, gangly gangs. Good evening, all. Always thank you, CiottiFPV. CMYK FPV as well. Andrew DeCavia says, just budget EV800D, so RPSMA. I'm going to recommend, Andrew, that you not buy RPSMA antennas for those goggles, because at some point you're going to upgrade your goggles and then your antennas are going to be worthless. So I'm going to recommend that you get the RPSMA to SMA adapter piece and then just buy regular old SMA antennas. And that way, when you inevitably pick up a set of Fat Sharks or Orcas or whatever, my suggestion is going to be used Fat Sharks. I still fly Fat Shark HD3s. They're a great goggle, and you can get them cheap on Facebook Marketplace or eBay, used from folks. So yeah, Fat Shark HD3s or HDOs or HDO2s are probably where you're going to go goggle-wise at some point here. Eachine is the only company that uses RPSMA. It's super frustrating. So yeah, I would not buy into that antenna scheme because every other goggle does not use them. Douglas Otwell says, why do my new Eachine EV200D goggles not have an on-off switch? For the same reason that pretty much all goggles other than Walksnails don't have a power switch. The manufacturers claim it's because they want you to use the barrel plug because it's more reliable than an on-off button. Many have called shenanigans on that because, yeah, plugging and unplugging the barrel connector eventually wears out the barrel plug, and that's that. So, yeah, kind of weird that none of our goggles have had power switches, but it's really nice that the Walksnails do. Having a power switch is a luxury that I didn't really understand was as cool as it is. So, yeah. Jay Jones says, just done a 3.5-inch build with one of those 42688 gyros and getting twitching in flight, installed BLHeli 16.7, but I think I might have to swap it to Bluejay 0.16 if that doesn't work. The gyro will have nothing to do with... So if moving between BLHeli and Bluejay has any effect, then your problem is not related to the gyro. Gyro problems will not manifest themselves in ESC firmware at all. Gyros that are too sensitive for the amount of noise in the system are... The issues are coming up inside the filtering and PID loop, and that is pre the ESC getting involved. The PID loop and the filters do their thing, and then they generate outputs to the ESC that then go to the motors. So those outputs that are generated, if there's garbage in them, it doesn't matter what version of BLHeli or Bluejay you're on. The ESC is just going to do what it's told, and it's going to have... It's going to fly like garbage. So, yeah. Twitching in flight shouldn't be ESC related, but do the test. What the hell? Try it out. Try different versions, because you never know. There's a lot of weirdness going on with Bluejay at the moment, so it could be that. It's not going to be that, but... You never know. Zeta7 Solo says, is a split camera still worth using for whoops, or should I just save up for the Walksnail? Thanks. It's a really good question, Zeta. The problem with the old school style analog split cameras is the humongous sacrifice that you make in field of view and latency and just general image quality in your FPV view. The HD that comes out of the split cameras is surprisingly good. It does not adjust to light changes very quickly, and that kind of sucks. That just makes makes the footage look like it was filmed on a cheaper camera, because it is. So yeah, it's not a great flight. The split cameras do not give you a great flight experience. They're very difficult to fly. but the HD coming out of them is decent. Walksnail is going to give you a great FPV experience and great footage that adjusts to light very, very quickly, because it's meant to be an FPV camera. And then if you keep going all the way up to like an 03 unit, you get back into the... Sorry, guys. You get back into the world of split cameras. The 03 Air unit is basically a glorified split camera, where you make sacrifices on the FPV side of things in order to get phenomenal HD footage out of it. What's cool about the 03 Air unit, though, is that it gives you the option to crank up the, among other things, the frame rate, and it becomes a much more decent FPV camera at that point than any other split camera ever has. But it is not as good of an FPV camera as Walksnail or old school DJI, just because it's got... there's no way to program the damn thing to spit out FPV footage that adjusts to light changes quickly and is low latency, without that also affecting the HD. So yeah, the 03 Air unit is very interesting. The range is amazing. It's the best range that we've ever gotten from an HD system, other than HD0, but I barely consider that to be an HD system. So yeah, the 03 has phenomenal range, and that's great. But for like hardcore freestyle flying, it's not as good as old school DJI or Walksnail. So keep that in mind. It's a really interesting camera system, and it does, like, a sum total of everything that it does. It's the best FPV system that we've ever had. You can put it up into 4K 30 frames a second with stabilization. That's absurd. Like, you can fly with stabilization on, and the footage will have like that stabilization. That is unreal. But when you do that, when you put it into 30 frame per second mode, you have to fly in 30 frames per second. And that's going to have a significant amount of latency. So it's not perfect, but it is better than anything we've ever had. It's also horrendously expensive. $260 per VTX and camera is just ridiculous. Kind of makes sense because it's phenomenal, but yeah, it's a ton of money. So there you go. There's a breakdown of each of the systems. I don't really talk about HD0 much because it kind of only makes sense for racing, in my opinion. It is, it's like analog plus. It looks a little bit better than analog. I think the breakup is the worst. I don't think there's a single video system that has uglier, less flyable breakup than HD0, which is like kind of the main thing that gets me. And the image quality kind of sucks because it's just a little bit better than analog. I love that it exists, and for racers, like, it's great, but for freestyle, I don't think it makes any sense. That's just me, though. I'm just a guy on the internet. Great question, Zeta. Thank you for asking that. J-Drone says, if that doesn't work, what type of filters could I apply? Yeah, I mean, there's not just like a one-size-fits-all solution. The one-size-fits-all solution is just more of all the filtering. So basically pull the filters down to 1.0. If it's not right with the filters at 1.0, there's like it's more than likely a hardware issue. It could be a bad gyro right out of the box. So yeah, pull the filter sliders down to 1.0. and see if that's any better. If they're already at 1.0, I would get in touch with whoever you bought it from and say, hey, this thing ticks during flight. Hopefully it's a build that has had a previous AIO. But yeah, that's a tough one. When right out of the box, when flight controllers start acting weird like that, it's really hard to tell. Like if it's a build that's a known good build, you know the motors are clean and not wobbly and vibraty. You know the props are okay. You know the frame is okay. It's a lot less difficult because it was flying fine. The flight controller caught on fire because the 5-volt Beck blew up, whatever the issue was. You replaced it, and then brand new one is not flying fine. That's easy. You talk to whoever you bought it from and say, hey, this build was completely fine. Swap the flight controller. Now it's not fine. I think the gyro is bad on here. Send me a new one or else. So, yeah. That's kind of where you're at there. Man, I'm hungry as hell. That's why I'm so yawny, because I didn't get to eat before the live stream. All I had was cereal today. Rockcrawler says hi. Andrew DeCavia says we live up in the Sierras, so surrounded by trees. Why we wanted Express LRS. Found a deal on Lollipop V4, which I jumped on for the daughter. So I'll look into MX Air and omnidirectional or X2. I think the Lollipop antennas are made by Foxeer. They're okay. They're really inexpensive, which is what's nice about them. I've had pretty decent luck with them. So, yeah, nothing wrong with those. YouTube just did the thing again. Trying to find my spot. Where are we at? Denzel the Terrible says those black goggles need big old googly eyes. The problem is I'd have to put the googly eyes in here, and they would be kind of close together. Also, that front panel like looks down, so the googly eyes would be like forever looking down at the ground. If anything, the antenna manufacturers, they need to get their shit together, and they need to start making patch antennas that are giant googly eyes. So if I were to do googly eyes on this, I would put them on the patch antennas. The real problem with the googly eyes is that the antennas like no longer fit properly in your bag, which is just kind of super annoying. Not the end of the world, but it's just one of those things that it's like, Christ, this doesn't fit. What am I gonna do? Where is the speaking of what am I gonna do? Where the hell is the USB to HDMI cable? I'm gonna need that. Where did that go? Is this it here? This is not it here. Oh, balls. What did I do with that? Oh, man. So I would have brought it to... I would have been bringing it to the drift car place. So is it maybe in this bag here? I think maybe I've brought this bag with me before. Shit, we need that cable to be able to get the Walksnail video into the Elgato for the live stream. Jazzbot. Well, that's annoying. Where would I have put that? If I were me in the past, where would I have put that cable? Would I have put it in the front part of my bag like a smart person? Surely not. I'm sure I put it in a dumb spot, like a dumb person. Okay, so this is my red USB to USB, so it's not that. Farts! Did I put it over here? No. Oh man. Maybe we're not gonna test Walksnail out tonight. I thought that I left it plugged in. I assume that I left it plugged into the back of the Elgato here, but apparently not. Did I? Oh, I know where I put it. Shit! No, I didn't. Damn it! I should have put it in the little case here. That would have been an intelligent thing to do. That would have been a very smart spot to put it in. But instead, I put it over here. Damn. I was hoping that would work. It didn't. Oh! What did I do with it? Yo! Where the hell did it go? Oh, man. I wanted to fly some Walksnail tonight, yo. It's a big cable too. It's like a 15-foot cable, so it's not like it should be. It should be kind of obvious. It's got HDMI on one side, USB on the other. Did it somehow make its way into my smart controller case? Maybe. That's a possibility. Let's see. Nope, that's big USB to small USB. That's HDMI to HDMI. Ow! Where the hell? Where'd it go? This room's not that big. Where? What do you guys think? Where would I have put it? What do you guys think? Over here? Or over there? What about over here? Do you think I put it over here? No. Maybe I put it over there? No? Over here. I didn't return it, did I? There's a chance I returned it. Because I was not happy with the plug on it. The plug was kind of flaky on the goggles. I don't think I would have returned it, though. I bet you I returned it. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that I returned. Let me take a super quick look. Your orders, and then I can search all orders for HDMI. And, okay, there it is. Order details. USB-C to HDMI 10 foot. Return is complete. I did return it. Okay, okay. All right, well, I need to buy another one now. All right. Yeah, it was losing connection and shit. So yeah, this is what I need here. Do I need 10 feet? So that one's 17. That's the one that I don't want. This one's 10 feet as well. If I get one that's long enough, I'm hoping that I can stream my video to the big-ass TVs in the for the little drift car jibbo-jabbos. But I mean, I don't really know if 10 feet, like, I would rather have even longer than 10 feet. Wouldn't we all? So yeah, I don't want this Uni brand. Maybe Warkey will be better. That's only 6 foots though. Let's do this. 10 feet and above. What do we got here? Here's a 10 footer that's got red ends on it. JS Aux. A bunch of these are JS Aux. Maybe I'll try JS Aux this time. 10 feet, 10 feet. Here's a 15 foot though from LD Leroy. 15 feet. Oh shit. Highly rated. Oh, look, the shitty one that I got is highly... Wait, no, it's not. 10 foot, 16.5 feet from Leroy again. LD Leroy. 10 foot, 25 feet. Jesus, but it's $45. F that noise. 25 feet, but it's going to be 56. All right, well, let's stick with the high up results. Let's try this JS. Maybe? Where'd that 15 footer go? LD Leroy? Should we try LD Leroy? $21 for 15 foots? Oh, look at this though. It's only 4K 30. It's not 4K 60. That should be fine though. I love these images that they use. It's just outrageous. So if I do the 4K 60 one in 16.5 feet, it's going to be expensive, isn't it? No, 25 bucks. Well, shit, I'd rather do that. 4K 60, 16.5 feet, $25 versus $20. Yeah, screw it. Let's go. Let's do the 4K 60, 16.5 feet one. Add to cart. All right, good deal. There was something else that I needed to snag on Amazon using my affiliate link. What the hell was it? What did I need to... Whatever. I'll figure it out later. Let me get caught back up on chat here. Stavel says Mobula 7 no longer a jungle gym basher. It is. It's currently taken apart, but we're going to be working on it in a little bit. Freelojo says, we may look silly with our goggles on, but we get cool points for the government making rules for our hobby. I think it's Portier, P-O-I-T-E-R. It might just be Poiter. Says, have you tried the new Betaflight 27 or 30,000 kV motors? I've got some on the way, keen to try them. Betafpv is sending them to me. They have not arrived yet. Their shipping takes a while. So, yeah, there will be some info on them sooner than later. Peter Savas says, bought a Mobula 6, 26,000 kV, still having washouts. Any tips? Just changed to BT 2.0 using 8.5 gram batteries. It just needs more power. Like the 26,000 kV 702s are better than any motor that's ever come on a Tiny Whoop before, on a Bind and Fly. But it's still just not quite enough. Even the most powerful motors, the 702 32,000 kV motors, if you dive them hard enough, they will still wash out, as I found out in the hotel, dropping it like 20 stories straight down. That's pretty rare. Like, usually you don't dive 20 plus stories with a Tiny Whoop. So if that's like the main concern, like, so for example, right, if I was going to build a specific rig to fly that hotel and do that dive with no washout, I think what I would do is the Happy Model EX 0802 in 30,000 kV with the new Gemfan 1208 tri-blades. This is an 802, so significantly more stator volume than a 702. They sell it in 30,000 kV, which is almost as good as 32,000 kV for the 702s. The bigger stator volume will allow you to run a tri-blade, and those tri-blades on an 802 30,000 will make more power than the 702 32,000s with bi-blades. So yeah, if washout is all that matters to you, I think, and so these EX designation 802s, the EX is saying that these are a lighter weight 802. So these only weigh a fraction, I think, of a gram more than 702s, but they're not as durable. You can't get them in 32,000 kV. Like, there's, they're on a frame that's not built for a reason. Like, these motors are just, they're not the end all be all. the high KV prototype 603s that Jesse sent me, I like those better just because they're a little bit lighter. You can't get them though in 30,000 kV. You can only get them in 26,000 kV, which is not enough. So yeah, in terms of like currently available motors, these Happy Model EX802s are going to give you the most power and still be somewhat lightweight. For a 75 millimeter whoop, you can go up to a 1002 to get even more stator volume. I don't think you should. I've not had great experience with those. These EX802 motors are a little bit more fragile than any of the other tiny whoop motors. When you save weight, you sacrifice durability. That's just the way that it is. So, yeah. These 802s are a fascinating motor, and I'm going to be putting them on this frame here, this old school Betafpv frame, because so the problem with these motors is they like to spit magnets out of the bell, and that happens when you run a frame that has the battery above the bottom of the motors. So when you slam down, you slam the first thing that hits are the motor screws, and that puts that shock up into the motor, and then the magnets come firing out the bottom. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. So a frame like this, where the battery is the lowest point, when this thing slams down, the battery is going to take the hit, and it's going to more softly kind of like load up. The motors might still slap into the ground, but the battery is going to take a bunch of the shock. So yeah, these motors belong on this frame, which, you know, while I'm working through chat, I might as well kind of get it swapped over. We talked about that when this frame arrived from Tiny Whoop. No use standing on ceremony. Let's put these motors into it, because then it'll give me an excuse to try this frame too, which is kind of nice, to see what all the hubbub is about. So yeah, let's get that rolling here. Where we at in chat? Nani FPV says, "Howdy gangly gang, what's up CiottiFPV?" As a follow-up, Peter, here's what I will say. You can prevent yaw washouts by flying around it. When I was doing that dive at the hotel on Saturday night, there was no way to get around the washouts, so basically I started to fly around it, and essentially what I did is, on the way down from the dive, towards the end of the dive, I would more slowly pitch back. And if you slowly pitch back, it'll take all that momentum and it'll shift that momentum forwards. The problem with washout is when you fall straight down, you generate a whole bunch of speed, and then you quickly pitch and hammer the throttle. And what you're doing is you're creating a column of air down here from thrust, and then you're falling down through that air. And that's really turbulent air. When you come down like this and you jump on the throttle and fly forward like this, your column of dirty air, you never really fall through it, right? Like you've got dirty air here, and you keep all that ugly dirty air down below the craft. You never dive straight into it. So yeah, you can technically fly around washout. I always prefer to fix the mechanical system because I don't want to be like limited, basically. I want the camera to be able to move perfectly in all directions and in all movements all the time. Like that's why I test so much stuff, and that's why I really think about the perfect powertrain on every single different rig that I've got. So yeah, fixing the issue is my favorite thing to do, but technically speaking, you can just fly around it. Those 702 26,000s are great motors. They have outrageous throttle control. Like if you were going to start chasing RC, if you were to find a local group of RC drift cars and start chasing them around, those 702 26,000s are going to be incredible for that, because you're going to get more throttle resolution from them having less power. That being said, if you've got $40, get a set of 702 30 or 32,000 kV motors or 32,500 kV motors. And if you want more throttle resolution, you can just motor limit them down in Betaflight. So yeah, I best case scenario is that you get some of these higher kV motors and fix the mechanical system. And then if you want that throttle resolution back that you lost from going up to the higher kV, you can always get it back digitally in the software. And that's, you know, that's really ideal. Like, we've got software that'll do us some favors. Let's take advantage of that, you know, like let's use that software and let it help us out rather than beating our heads into stuff and, you know, not having a rig that flies as good as it could. So on these EX802s go to this old school Betafpv indestructible frame. NaniFPV says, howdy gangly gang, what's up CiottiFPV? Zeta7 Solo says, hey, thanks for the great answer about the camera systems. You're certainly welcome. Rockcrawlers, YouTube did the thing. Finding my place. Rockcrawler says, did you ever get to try the HD0 goggles? I love mine. Yes, I tried a couple sets of them at Rampage. They're really, really good. They're the best analog goggles that exist, but they're really expensive and really hard to get a hold of. So, yeah, for me, I'm going to be staying with these HD3s. They're just old, reliable. The other thing that I got to be honest, and it sounds kind of stupid, but it's real. One of the main things I don't like about the HD0 goggles is where they put the receiver module, which is all the way perpendicular on the side here. They put the receiver module flat on the side like this. So instead of running instead of the receiver module being at a 45-degree angle, and then you just run a little 45-degree adapter for your patch antenna, now you have to run a 90-degree for your patch antenna, but it's not going to clear. Like a 90-degree here, the patch antenna is going to bump. I think it's going to bump into the receiver module door. So yeah, from like a packaging standpoint, it's just not great. You know, they're really, the goggles are really for HD0, and I'm not, you know, I'm not doing HD0 anymore. So yeah, I would love, on one hand, like I would love to be able to get my hands on a set because they do have better DVR on board with de-interlacing, which is awesome, but Jesus, $550 and like really difficult to get a hold of. That at that point it's just kind of like, okay, that's there's nothing I can do here. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with those. They would be amazing to have, but realistically, I just don't know. I just don't know. So I'm trying to figure out which direction to clock these motors. I can clock them like that, and then the wire will go up and over, or I can clock them down and then the wire will go over and down. I'm gonna clock them forward, I think, and then they'll run the length of the arm there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do them a little bit differently than I usually do. So this is not necessarily a problem, but this is just a thing that we run into on certain tiny whoop frames, where the strongest way to build the frame is not necessarily the most convenient. The strongest way to build it is to rotate the screws so that they coincide with the supports. But then the motor kind of sits, the motor wires don't run directly to where they're going to be plugging in. The motor wire runs. So the Mobula 7 V4 frame is the first time I kind of noticed this. And yeah, the motor wires just don't have a straight shot because of the way that they're mounted, but the frame manufacturer is doing it to get a little bit more strength out of the frame, so I kind of get it. I really do. So that's fine. So if I put that one that way, I need to put this one this way. Yeah, okay. Got it. The Meteor 65 frame is not like this. Peter Savas with a 457 super chat. Thank you, dude. Very cool of you. I'm going to read your chat comment in 1 second. Rick McKinney says, what do you recommend for just a plain Jane camera on a 65mm Tiny Whoop? My current favorite is the Runcam Nano 3, mainly because of how light it is, and it works in the lightest, most durable canopy, which is the Mobula 6 canopy. This is the camera that's been coming with the Mobula 6s like forever now. And it's not like the best camera, but it's also not the worst. So yeah, the weight savings that you get from it and the fact that it's just a completely fine camera are why it's at the top of my list. There's also a couple of Caddx options, which are completely fine as well, but they're going to be significantly heavier with whatever canopy that you put them on. You're probably going to gain almost a full gram. It really depends on what canopy you run. But yeah, in order to get the durability, the combination of durability and lightweight that you get with the Mobula 6 canopy and the Runcam Nano 3, it's just too good to turn down. Like it's just, yeah, it's the dream. It's the dream to get lightweight and durability, and it actually works semi-decent, right? Like usually if you get something that's lightweight and really durable, it performs like shit, right? Like you usually can't get the best. There's always a sacrifice, right? And the sacrifice with the Runcam Nano 3 is that it's not quite the cleanest image quality because the lens is so small. But that's one of the reasons why it's so light, is because the lens is so small. And Tiny Whoops really love to be super lightweight. Analog kind of looks so shitty anyway that the camera doesn't matter as much. Although you could argue the opposite side of that. You could argue that because analog looks so bad, the camera is even more important. I don't know. Like, it's a Tiny Whoop, so it's going to be going pretty slowly. And so if you're going slow and the camera is not the absolute best, you're kind of fine, right? It's like with Tiny Whoops and with analog in general, like it's not about the image looking good. It's about other things. It's about low latency. It's about durability and lightweight, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's the best one, but that's just me. Jay Jones says, cheers for the advice, buddy. Ramdanko says, so if Betafpv can lift an 03 on 2S at 100 grams, anything more capable on the horizon, sub 250 maybe? That's a great question, Ram. Hold on. I'm going to highlight your question, and we're going to come right back to it. Peter Savis with 100 CZK super chat. He says, thanks. Already have sets of 30 and 32,000 kV motors, and I'm not heavily concerned by washouts, just interested. Okay. And I know using thrust earlier equals better flying equals will fix those. Thanks. Awesome stream. Thanks, dude. Cool. So yeah, put those 32. I mean, it's Peter. I'm really glad that you asked the question, because it's the yaw washout thing is super interesting with Tiny Whoops. Peter, do you have any interest in going down the road with me of trying to improve the yaw washouts? If anybody wants to, I would love for some of you guys to come along with me on this. So I thought that the 702 32,000 kV motors would not wash out. I thought we'd finally gotten enough power that you couldn't get it to do that. When I dove that 1,400 foot radio tower, at the base of the radio tower, I got a big hit of yaw washout. And what I assumed that was is the fact that I just put a 1S 300 mAh battery 1,400 feet straight up and then dove it straight down. So I thought it was just a battery sag issue, right? Because like 5 seconds after that yaw washout, I got low battery and land now, and it fell out of the sky at full throttle. It didn't fall out of the sky, but it cruised down as the battery went completely dead, right? But in the hotel Saturday night, on fresh batteries, diving 20 stories, however the hell high that is. How high is 20 stories? 20 stories is 200 feet. So a 200-foot dive was producing washout at the bottom if I didn't fly it out properly. And like I said earlier, I don't want to have to fly it out properly. I want to build quads that I can put into dirty air and they eat it and they're fine. That's ideal. So I'm going to I need to find a spot where I can do tiny whoop dives. That should be easy here in Atlanta. But yeah, I need to I'm going to go to props in. So that is the last sort of resort, really. You know, I've got the 0702 32,000 kV motors on it. Technically, I could go up to the Screamers, which are 32,500 kV, but the extra 500 kV is not going to make a significant difference, I don't think. It's as light as it could be. It would definitely help to lighten the rig up. But it is as light as it's going to be, maintaining durability and serviceability. So I'm not just going to start cutting speed holes in it or anything like that. And one of the ways that we prevent yaw washout on Cinewhoops, big heavy Cinewhoops, is to go from props out to props in. Nobody seems to know why, but on a 3-inch Cinewhoop, or just any Cinewhoop, going from props out to props in is really magic when you try to drop elevation, for two reasons. It helps with the yaw washout, but what it also helps with is the wind up. I believe it's I-term wind up. And that's something that I was dealing with in that hotel as well. When I was coming down the dive, the motors would start to spin up and the rig would start to charge forward even though I was at 0 throttle. What's happening when it does that is that you're diving down and it's a tiny whoop, so it's not super aerodynamic, right? We have all this garbage, and when the wind hits the duct, it can like swirl and it can do all kinds of weird things. And when the wind starts to swirl, that's going to introduce movement to the rig, and then the PID loop is going to sense that movement, and it's going to use both thrust and braking to try to fix any little bits of wobble that are happening from the shit aerodynamic situation that you got going on. And so it's going to use thrust on one side and it's going to use braking on the other side. Well, the beginning part of the dive, it was able to only use a little bit of thrust and maximize the braking so that it's not charging forward. But as it accelerated more and more and dove farther and farther, the vibrations, the dirty air, whatever you want to call it, got to be so strong that the engine brake, it ran out of engine braking, right? Our motors can make a lot of thrust, but they can only make a little bit of braking. So it runs out of braking, out of motor braking, and now it has to compensate with more thrust. And that's when it starts to wind up, and that's when it starts to charge forward, is when you've run out of motor braking and it needs to make thrust. Otherwise, it's going to start shaking, and it's going to be an ugly camera shot. You can just turn your PIDs down, and it'll just shake all the way down the dive, and it won't charge forward. But that's not what we're doing here, right? And I actually did, in like the first battery, I went into the OSD, and I did turn the sliders down a little bit, because I had seen that it was kind of winding up a little bit. I could have maybe continued to pull the sliders down to find the happy medium of it'll do clean dives, but it still has enough pit authority to be locked in all the time. But I just wasn't thinking about the tune. I was just thinking about kind of flying around it. I tend to just fly around problems, and I will try to not dive into the tune and fuck around with the tune for each specific time that I fly because of that. I don't know if that's the right answer or the wrong answer. That's just sort of how my brain works. That's a leftover thing from motorsport, I think. In paddock, a lot of people would like go out for a run, they would come back to paddock, and then they would spend the next 15 minutes screwing around with the car while they're waiting for their next run. And then when they take their next run, the car feels completely different. And so anything that they learned in the previous run, it's going to be more difficult to kind of implement. So when I was instructing it, I would always recommend that people make the changes in their garage at home and then come on site and take all of their runs with basically the same setup. Like, if you need to change tire pressures because you're not getting even tire temperatures across the tread block, sure, do that. If there's an obvious problem with that you can tune out with shock damping, sure, do that. But like, try to limit yourself to the amount of changes that you make, and just drive around it. Just change your driving, as long as the mechanical system is not so bad that it's holding you back, right? That's kind of the gray area. I would always recommend that people change their driving rather than changing the car. Whether or not that, trying to convince people to do that is tough, myself included. So, yeah, I have a tendency to just kind of fly around the problems. Bo Mubarak with a $10 super chat. Thank you, yo. He says, my kids Mubarak and Isa say hi to you. Hello, Mubarak and Isa. Do something funny to Bo. Get him. Get him. Get him. Get him. Get him. Pull his pants. No, don't pull his. Steal his shoes. Take his shoes. Throw his shoes through a plate glass wood. No, don't do that. Don't break anything. Don't break anything, but mess with them. Go to the sink and turn the sink on and grab the sprayer and spray them. Don't do that either. Don't do that either. Water can ruin things. Have you guys ever put a rubber band around the sprayer? That's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite, like, relatively harmless jokes to play on people. Unfortunately, the house here, the kitchen sink, all the sinks actually, none of them have the sprayers, and I really miss it. We have a sink head that has a switch on it. You can go from normal to spray mode, and then the hose goes up into the head of the sink, so you just pull the whole head of the sink down and you spray stuff out. It won't work on that, but anybody who has sinks with the separate little sprayer on the side there, just put a little, like, whatever color it is, try to match the color. Or just use like clear tape and tape the trigger down. And then when your unsuspecting victim, hopefully you'll forget about it and you'll do it to yourself, comes up and turns the faucet on, it'll automatically shoot the sprayer. And make sure the sprayer is pointed directly at their crotch. That's important. CMAC says air mode off, maybe. If you're referring to how to try to make the dives, how to make a rig dive better, turning air mode off will definitely stop it from winding up, but it'll just fall out of the sky like a brick. So it'll be the camera shot will be all over the damn place. Like it'll start off looking down, and then as it starts to accelerate, it'll start vibrating all over the place. And then whatever the aerodynamic situation is with the rig, it will pick which direction it wants to fall. Basically, whichever direction the rig is most aerodynamic in, that's the direction that it will take. And a lot of times that's upside down. A lot of rigs without air mode, if you let them dive, air mode is what keeps the PID loop running at 0 throttle with good authority. So without air mode, what'll normally happen is it'll start falling straight, it'll start moving all over the place, and then it'll do one of these. Rigs tend to be most aerodynamic when they're upside down like this. So that's The whole time you're zero throttle, it'll probably flip over like this, and it'll do this little leaf maneuver. If you want to see what this is like, just fly your rigs up really high and disarm them. That's basically no air mode. Technically not, because with no air mode, it's still going to idle, but it's not going to run the PID loop with any significant amount of authority. So yeah, it's probably still going to do this jam where it flips upside down and it like literally floats down like a leaf. It's kind of interesting. It's something that I recommend to everyone, is that you take your quads up really high and disarm them, and just watch what happens. Make sure your throttle is zeroed, because you will not be able to rearm. So it's, take your rig up really high, zero the throttle out, disarm it, see how it falls, and then rearm it before it hits the ground, fly it back up again. Do it a couple times. It's nice to know what it looks like when the motors are off, basically, because you don't really get that experience all that often, and usually when it happens, it's like super ultra panic mode. So it's good to kind of learn what that looks like before you're in ultra panic mode. So yeah, if you haven't done that ever or in a while, go do it. It's kind of fun to do. But again, make sure the throttle is zeroed out. Pauly Shortcut says, sounds like an iGow challenge. Yeah, how long? What would the iGow challenge be? How long can you fall disarmed? Would that be it? So you just run the entire battery out. I mean, you would need to find something to reference off, right? Because we don't have GPS on these little bastards. So, well, no, I guess not. I guess it would be time-based. Yeah, it would be time-based. So you wouldn't happen to have anything to reference off. The trick would be, I think the trick would be, though, that you can't crash land. You have to... So the game becomes how high... Man, recovery is going to be a bitch, too. So we already know that a 65 millimeter tiny whoop on a 1S 300 mAh battery will climb 1,400 feet if you do the ultimate freestyle build setup. It'll climb 1,400 feet and come down and just barely make it somewhat home. So you can probably get more than 1,400 feet. You can probably get 1,500 or 1,600 feet. The problem is going to be, as you're going up, without a point of reference, like I had the tower as a point of reference, right? So all the way up, I was staying pretty much vertical because I had the tower to look at. If you don't have a tower to look at, and you put it flat on the ground and you just start going up, even if you run at an angle mode or horizon mode, the wind is just going to push it. The wind is and like tiny whoops get pushed like crazy by the wind. So if you go up really high, when you look down, you're not going to be able to see yourself. You're going to be 1,000+ feet up. B, it's going to it's already been hammered by the wind. On the way down, it's going to get hammered by the wind too. So that would actually be a tougher challenge than you might think. And so the challenge is go up as high as you can. I mean, the challenge is how long can you fall disarmed, right? So you go up as high as you possibly can. I think realistically, I guess you'd have to find a big-ass field. You'd have to stand dead center in that field. You'd have to have a wind, as windless of a day as possible. And I think you would want to use a lot of throttle. I think you would want to really hammer the throttle to send it up through the wind as quickly as possible. And then as soon as you got a low battery warning, you would zero the throttle and disarm it. I guess you would want to look down real quick. I guess you would want to slam the throttle down, look straight down, make sure that you're still somewhat centered with the big ass field that you're standing in the middle of, and with the throttle zeroed, you would disarm it. and then it would, and I think it would flip upside down, and you're gonna have video, and it's gonna leaf fall, and you're just gonna have to try your best to see the ground coming up at yourself. It's actually a really interesting challenge because you're gonna have no idea where it's coming down. Like, if you wait until you get a low battery warning, you're gonna let it fall, and then you're gonna rearm it, and you're gonna try to find yourself again, right? And a part of the challenge is you can't just let it slam into the grass. You got to recover it, and you got to land it. Probably, let's say, like, you got to land it at yourself. That's got to be a part of the challenge, right? You got to land it like on your transmitter or at your feet, under control in some way. But yeah, on the way down, it's going to be a mess. Like, it's going to be hard. You're not going to be able to see where you are, and the wind is going to be pushing you on the way down, so it could push you into the trees. That's why you need to be in the middle of a huge fucking field. And on the way down, you're going to be tempted to arm it really quick and look down and figure out where the hell you are. But that stops the timer. That's a fun game. That's an expensive game. That's a good way to lose a couple tiny whoops. I guess you wouldn't need... So, you should play that game with motors you don't want. The frames are so cheap, it's whatever. AIOs that don't fly right. Maybe if you have an AIO that's like got too much... Oh, this is a good game for the diamond AIOs. This is what people should do with the diamond AIOs. This is the game. Yeah. So diamond AIO, because they suck balls. Set of motors that's too low of a KV, because it doesn't really matter. It's not about flight characteristics. So get your 18,000, your 20,000, your 22,000 KV motors. Use those up. Do a 3D printed canopy, right? So you can just make more. Use whatever cameras you hate the most. And you kind of have to use a good battery. So you're going to sacrifice a battery. But yeah, I think that's how you do it. Anybody interested in this, post in my Discord channel on Toothpick and Whoop. I wonder if there's more than one of you that want to do it. If you guys do it, I will 100% put the video on one of these live streams, for sure. You can do it with a tiny whoop. You can do it with a 5-inch rig. I don't care. I'm in. Man, it sucks. This is a game to play with rigs that you don't want anymore. Paulie Shortcut says, use newbie drone cockroach, it's under warranty. It's only under warranty if you can show them that it broke. You can't just it can't just disappear. Yeah, I wonder if more than one of you are interested in doing this. And yeah, the game becomes, it's just a timer. You can't slow the footage down. I guess I don't really have a way of keeping you honest about not slowing the footage down. But whatever, just don't slow the footage down. And yeah, if more than one of you want to do this, we will absolutely have and I'll even put a prize. Well, fuck it. There's a prize. I don't know what the prize is, but I have plenty of Tiny Whoop stuff. I will make it worth your while. If more than one of you want to do this, post in Toothpick and Whoop on my Discord channel, which is linked over at CiottiFPV.com. And say, yo, what are we going to call it? Let's call it the Leaf Dive Challenge, maybe? Hashtag Leaf Dive. Or Disarm Dive. I think Disarm Dive is cooler. We'll call it the Disarm Dive. So yeah, post in there that you're in with the Disarm Dive. And yeah, it's time-based. It's who can stay disarmed the longest, but then still land at their feet in a controlled way, right? What am I forgetting? Paulie says, knowing me, I'd forget to record on my SD card. For whoever loses rigs doing this, I apologize. Sometimes I should just shut up. But, Internet notoriety is forever. Quads are disposable. The internet is forever. If you have like an old quad, that shit stays or numbered, yo. Send it to death. If a bunch of you guys do it, I might be willing to do it too. If a bunch of you guys do it, I'm gonna feel like I need to top it. Whoever has the longest free fall, you'll win some kind of a prize, and then I will try to outdo it. Unless it's like 2 minutes. Like if you manage to do it to fall for like 2 minutes, there's no way in hell I'm gonna beat that. But if it's somewhat reasonable, I'll try to beat it. I've got to have. I certainly have a rig somewhere that needs to just go away forever. Maybe not though. Like I try to move stuff along and I try to put things into giveaways. I certainly have a bunch of motors that I want to go away forever. I kind of wish I still had one of those diamond. The diamond AIO is the perfect thing to do it with. But when mine were a hot mess, I just got rid of them. But yeah, I'll figure something out. If enough of you guys want to do it, I'll get in on it for sure. Apologies to anyone that loses a rig doing this. There's a really, really, really good chance you're going to lose a rig doing this. I think best case scenario on the way down, it's rotating. The problem's going to be is I think it's going to do this, and it's going to be very disorienting. You guys should all do this regardless. Like you should all go a couple of 100 feet up and disarm it and watch what happens. Because the reason why that's so valuable is that tells you what the rig is going to do in failsafe. So once you've done it a couple times and you've seen how it performs and how it reacts, the next time your rig goes into failsafe, you're going to recognize that movement and you're going to know that you're in failsafe. You're going to know that your battery hasn't died. You're going to know that your ESC hasn't desynced. It's pretty obvious, like the way that these things move in failsafe versus when an ESC shits the bed and desyncs is completely different, because when an ESC desyncs, one of the motors shuts off and it death rolls, and it just like really tight little rolls out of the sky. When you go into failsafe, it freezes for a second and a half, and then it just gradually shuts the motors off, so it like falls normally, and then it starts moving, and then it usually flips upside down and falls the rest of the way like a leaf. So it's actually like a really nice thing to do to just educate yourself, yo. Rick McKinney says, is it still in your bag? Nanu. He also says, time to get CiottiFPV a half dozen of those USB to HDMI cables. Don't do that. No! You can't plug them all together. Rick McKinney says, don't use that Maker's cable. What Maker's cable? The one that I added to my cart? Paulie Shortcut says, where did you find those long 1.2 by 10 screws for the HD? Danzel the Terrible, I believe it was, sent them to me. I don't know where he found them. But I did find this. This eBay listing. You can get M1.2 by 12, 10, or 8 in small quantities. 10, 20, probably get 50. So I am meaning to get these. I don't love that this is a conical headed screw, but I do still think that it'll work, and for how cheap it is, it's kind of like whatever. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But here's the link in chat to that. Oh, farts. The link is too long. Here's the name of the item. Well, hold on. Oh, fart. I could just make you a quick bit.ly link. Oh, wow. bit.ly is I kind of saw this last time. Bitly is not free anymore. They force you to sign up and whatnot. That's kind of annoying. Well, I dropped the name of the item, so you should be able to find it from that. And just look for this picture. Look for this picture. You should be all right. What do we got here? Let's get caught up in chat, friends. What do you say? So we can actually do some work. Mamacita1111 says, I've finally ordered a 250 4-inch with the Aerolite 1605 3600s. Ooh, very cool. I know 3 to 4-inch frames haven't got the best when it comes to motors, but what would you recommend for a 3-inch Flyfish VX 3.5-inch? If it's 3.5-inch, I'm going to recommend a different motor. If it's 3-inch, I'm going to recommend the T-Motor 1404 4500. If it's 3.5-inch, I'm going to recommend a slightly bigger motor. T-Motor 1604, whatever the highest kV is, would be a good one. Or Axis now has a 1504. It's only sold on Banggood at the moment, but it should be coming to this country soon. So yeah, there's a couple of options for it. Or to be honest, those 1605 3600s don't have enough kV. Mamacita, definitely let me know how those motors are. I'm super curious about those 1605s. David, I'm just going to say David J says, Mobula 6 ELRS 26,000 kV in stock anywhere. I think it's only in stock on Banggood, and that's going to take like 16 months to get to you, so maybe don't do that. But yeah, it's really hard to find. The 26,000s are really good, but to be honest, there's a pretty significant performance increase going up to 30,000 or even 32,000 or 32,500. So if you can't find the Mobula 6 ELRS with the 26,000s, just chalk it up to, oh damn, I get to build something even better for an extra $40. What's nice about finding it with the 26,000 kV motors is that they're 0702s, and you can use the bells on the higher kV 0702s. So that's kind of best case scenario, is to find it with the 26,000s and then immediately put the 32s or the 32.5s or the 30s on it, and then keep those 26,000s, and if you ever need a replacement bell because you've bent the motor shaft, you just pop the C-clips off, and you can use those 26K bells. Most Mobula 6 ELRSs that you're going to find are going to have 0802s, and they're pretty worthless. But hang on to them, because you can't. They're going to be like 19,000 kV, which is just stupid. Hang on to them because you can use those bells. If you get 30,000 kV 802s, you'll get decent performance. Yeah, that's the situation. Hockey Round says, I'm still waiting for my HD0 goggles to show up. You and lots of other people. GMI Visuals says, what's your view of HD0? I ranted for about 10 minutes earlier in the live stream about it, GMI. Ed K says, I just use extensions to get my antennas off the goggles. Yep, you could always do that. Different setup, UT, similar problem. Peter Savas, thanks again for the super chat. Bo Mubarak, thanks again for the super chat. Paulie Surecut says, what do you do when your motor wires don't reach? I cut them twice, and they're still too short. I use race wires. Race wires, or preferably actually LED race wires, because they're cool looking. That's one of my favorite things about the LED race wires, is that if you accidentally cut your motor wires too short, or if your motor wire gets chopped, you can cut it short, link it up to the race wire, and away you go. Chase Dirk says, where do you have to post the leaf dive? Over on Discord in the Toothpick and Whoop text channel. It is a Patreon-only text channel. Sorry. But yeah, that's where you guys can organize it to see how many of you are interested in doing it, and then videos will start to roll in, hopefully. Let's click over there, see if anybody has posted yet. Nah, nobody's posted in there yet. So, all right. Yeah, post in there something like I'm down for the disarm dive. Let's call it disarm dive. I think that sounds better than leaf dive. Leaf dive doesn't really make any sense. It's disarm dive. Peter says, can we attach wings? Marcel F. Axis says, or a parachute. You cannot. I don't think it would help, though, because it would create so much drag on the way up. What would be fun... Yeah, this is how you do it without losing your rig. Over on tinywhoop.com, Jesse is selling Tiny Whoop streamers. And so the way to not lose your rig in this contest would be to hook up one of these streamers to it. And then when you disarm it, you try to line of sight it. You pull your goggles up and you try to see the streamer, and then you can watch the streamer come down, and then you can really disarm it low. As long as you can see the damn thing coming down, you can disarm it an inch off the ground, hammer the throttle, and fly it back to yourself. But you know, that's interesting. I mean, the streamer is going to be a nightmare on the way up. And that almost makes it fair in a way. Disarm death dive challenge. There we go. It's D cubed. It's the D cubed challenge. Interesting. I think I'm gonna do it with the streamer. How about that? Because I'm not trying to lose a rig. I'd be interested to see it with and without the streamer. I kind of the easy way, again, the easy way to do this is to have a visual reference point. So if you can find 1,000-foot radio tower that's recoverable underneath it, I think that's the way to do it, because you fly all the way up right next to the radio tower, and then you disarm it, and it's not like it's going to get pushed by the wind on the way down, but it's not going to get pushed that bad. And I'm more worried about it getting pushed on the... You know, if it's getting pushed on the way up because you're just blindly looking at the sky, hammering the throttle, it's going to get pushed, and then it's going to get pushed on the way down too. If you've got a visual representation up that high, then it's only going to get pushed on the one-way trip. So yeah. For the official competition, though, no parachute, no streamer, no nothing. It's got to be full sketch. CiottiFPV says, a trophy that passes around similar to stick/dick ends. That could be interesting. I don't want a lot of people to do it, though, because I think rigs will be lost in doing this. Chase says, about to try leaf dive in backyard with 32,000 702s. Don't you do it on a 17-gram rig. But do we have to be in horizon, or is air mode okay? I don't think you want to be in horizon or air mode. I think what you want to do is take the rig off in acro as quickly as you can, get the damn thing into a dead hover, and then just jam the throttle. And if it's at a dead hover, then it's not going to be like angle mode, horizon mode. Those accelerometers drift all the time, so it's going to be drifting the whole damn way. I think you want to be in acro, get it dead level, and just bash it and just nail it. And I guess the right way to do this would be to go like full throttle. I mean, you don't have to go full throttle. Full throttle tends to not be all that efficient. So maybe like, but you don't want to be limping. Like when I did that radio tower dive, I was limping it on the way up because I was trying to be as efficient as possible. I don't know where these things are most efficient. I think they're more efficient the lower in the throttle that you can go. But the game is, if you're too low in the throttle, you're going to be climbing too slowly. So it's, yeah, like you want to be covering some ground on the way up, but you don't want to be like jamming the throttle. For this game, though, not necessarily. If here's what I'll say: if you don't have a radio tower to reference off of, if you're just blindly hammering it into the sky, I think you do want to be a little bit heavier on the throttle to just punch it through the wind as quickly as possible. What an interesting little little thing. 742. What? Okay, hold on. Let's get caught up on chat, and then I'm going to do the things that are in the stream title. Ramdago says, longest disarm and return. Is that the course? That's it. Mamacita says, thanks for that tip. I'll definitely keep you posted. I'll be seeking your services on Fiverr or private if you prefer once it's built. Yep, private. Just message me and we'll set it up. Fiverr takes a small cut. Marcelo Off Axis says, I have some race wire LEDs, but they don't light up. And they don't light up. When I first installed them, they were very dim, but now they don't light up. 6S 2P battery set up too much. It's 4 to 6S. They just die over time off axis. They get prop strikes. They get over voltage. I don't know. They just die. So yeah, that's probably what's going on. Andrew says, Mobula 60 LRS 702 26,000 on Banggood, shipped out to California 630, bought 7.3 shipped 8.16 ETA, so currently 7 weeks out. Man, that is a long time to wait. I do not miss that. When I first got into the hobby, I only bought stuff on Banggood, and the weight killed me. Mama Caesar says, based on 4 and 3.5 inch frame, what's a better AIO or flight controller ESC, and why in today's scarcity market is the best stick higher price known brands or support mid to smaller brands? The putting a 20 by 20 stack into, I think what you're talking about is the 250 frame. Putting a 20 by 20 stack in there sucks. So that frame is really designed for an AIO. I will not buy any AIO other than the Acon. It's really expensive, but it's the only one that's going to hold up, and losing an entire rig is way more expensive than paying a little bit extra for a good quality AIO. So yeah, AIO, for anything bigger than a tiny whoop, for me, it's the Acon or nothing. If you get a different frame with more stack height, a 20 by 20 stack is going to be better. I'm going to recommend T-Motor though. It's which is kind of expensive, but again, it's always less expensive to spend more money on better electronics and not lose the rig versus buying cheaper electronics and the rig goes into the ocean, or you just can't find it when it catches on fire, or it catches on fire and burns to the ground. So yeah, I always recommend slightly better electronics so that they don't fail. Let's do some of the things in the stream title. So the big thing is trying to repair these snowblower motors, because I really want to use them. This is the one here that so here's what's going on with these motors. In order to get the white color, they have powder coated them. And it looks like what's happened is the powder coating has gotten inside of the threads. And so when I was trying to install these, I was unable to get the screws to go through them because the threads are all junked up with powder coating material. You know, like they machine these threads to be a very specific pitch and thickness and everything. And then the powder coating is not like welcome in there. And so I've got a situation here where one of these motors stripped because I was cranking on the screw a little bit too hard to try to kind of clear to get it to clear out the powder coating. So yeah, one of these screw holes is all jacked up, and I'm working on it off camera right now. What I'm basically doing is clearing out the excess junk that's kind of in there so that I can use this little M1.2 tap to try and rethread this damn thing. But I don't think it's going to happen because it's pretty stripped out. Like it's pretty bad. But it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. All right, so I was just able to push all of the junk out. Yeah, this ain't gonna work, yo. It's like very stripped. But like I said earlier, I'm going to send the M1.4 tap through here to see if I can fix it. But for right now, let me do a little bit more farting around with the M1.2 tap. And, well, that's interesting. It is catching, and I can feel it threading it ever so slightly. So, yeah. Now I'm trying to get it out of here. I'm trying to preserve the threads on the way out. All right. Well, it did something. So we're gonna try it. Let me run this through the other two holes here to clear them out. They were fine though. I was able to clear them out with the screw. Sometimes sometimes you can just send a screw through it. I mean, we saw that on last week's stream when we were doing this. I was able to just put on two of the three holes on this motor. I was able to just put a screw in it and just tighten the screw, and that pushed out all of the not all, but most of the powder coating. The screws are not meant to do this though, so sometimes it doesn't work. So yeah, if you've got the appropriate tap and you're trying to do something like this, it's always best to use that. I guess that's kind of obvious, but you know. All right, so I'm firing this tap through. Oh yeah, okay, it's taking a ton of the powder coating out. All right, that's what we want. All right, cool. So I got that hole done. And now I'm going to do the last remaining one here. And so this particular M1.2 tap here that I'm using right now, I got my Dremel out and I flattened the tip of it, because the problem that I was running into last week was that on this tap, it had the tap came down like this, and then it had like a pointy nose, and that pointy nose was going through the hole, and it was contacting the windings before the threads actually engaged and clean these out. So yeah, that was the problem I was running into last week, but that issue has now been sorted out by just hitting the tip of it with the Dremel and just making the tip of it flat. I probably didn't do that great of a job at it, though. And I saw an email from my dad. He found an M1.2 tap that has the flat head on it. Unfortunately, it was $25. But really specialty little tools like that have a tendency to cost $20 to $30. I've got a 1.48 millimeter drill bit that was really expensive. All right, so yeah, it did not. This hole is still stripped out. The problem with these tiny whoop and any motors being 3-bolt is that if one of the holes strips out, you can't use it because the motor will sit crooked. Although I guess on a carbon fiber frame you might be okay. So what I am going to try to do is tap this hole for M1.4, and then I don't know, maybe I have an M1.4 screw somewhere. I'm pretty sure I don't, but well, I'm sure I do, but I don't know how to tell if it's a M1.4 screw. Even if I can tell that it's an M1.4 screw, I'm probably not going to be able to find one that's short enough for the tiny whoop frame. But, I mean, this stator is ruined anyway, so I might as well thread it for something. And so I'm running into the same problem with this one where it did start to thread it, but then the tip of the tap is running into the Oh yeah, it didn't do shit. Yeah, no, I mean this motor is just ruined. That sucks. God damn it. Yeah, this there's no going back, you know, like once you remove too much material, like that's that. Yeah, this motor is just shot, so this thing is gonna have to stay taken apart for a while longer until Jesse gets my Facebook message and hopefully shoots me out another one. God damn. With tiny whoops, it's even worse in terms of when motors get stripped out, because the mounting base is plastic and it's a little bit squishy. So when you tighten the other two screws, it cocks the motor over, and and you can't have that. You can't have the motor sitting sideways. The blades of the prop will hit the duct supports, and it just yeah, you just can't have it. Can't have that. If anybody is interested in these 603 26,000 kV motors, I'll give you a good deal on them. They're great on a 75 millimeter rig on bi-blades that you're not going to crash a lot. Or you could always do like Gemfan, the new 1208 tri-blades on them. Great motor. I've been really impressed by these. Or if you just want to try something different, they'll scratch that itch for sure. All right, so all those motors are off. I can now kind of put them aside. Hell, I even have the little box for them. So yeah, if anybody wants a set of 603 26,000, let me know. I am still looking for the 4-port version of this Lumineer balance charger. This is the Lumineer Paragard. They made a version of this that looks like that, and I'm looking for it. So ask your friends. Ask your friends if their balance board is white, and if it's white, ask them how many ports it has. I will pay more than it's worth for one, or I'll just trade this 6-port for it. All right, so this guy's good. We're gonna put this into what I now call a build bag. This is the bad motor, but this bell is still good, so I will hang on to this motor, and then here are the other ones. While I'm here, though, I guess let me just run this tap down these other two motors so that I don't forget, basically. These holes are so small that you can use these taps by hand. Usually taps, you cannot hold them by hand. You have to have some sort of a T-handle because you got to really crank on them. But yeah, these holes are already threaded. All we're really doing is clearing out powder coat. So this is a pretty easy job. You just want to make sure you get it square. Don't put it in there sideways. You'll really damage the threads. All right, so there's one, and now here's the other. Why am I having an allergy attack all of a sudden? This tap does a really good job getting the powder coat out of these threads. I wish I'd had this before I started farting around with these motors. I've had this happen before where the threading on a motor is just not quite right and you got to sort of clear it out. But I've always been able to just send a screw through it, and that's gotten the job done. All right, so that's good to go. So yeah, this is going to have to wait until a replacement motor arrives, which is annoying, but not the end of the world. All right, so now let's throw some screamers onto this guy. Although I can't even fly it around. I can't show you me flying it around. So that's kind of stupid. Wow, everything fell apart. Everything I was going to do kind of fell apart, yo. I I mean, I kind of do want to give you... I also need to switch out the canopy on this thing. Farts. I don't know what to do here. I definitely want to move this over onto the Weebleed Screamers. Let's just do that. Let's just move this over to the Weebleed Screamers, and then I'll fly it tomorrow night at the Drift Car place, and I'll let you know what I think. I've already flown a bunch of batteries with it on these 30,000s. The main thing I'm wondering is, will these 32,000s, will I sacrifice some throttle resolution with the 32,000s? I don't think so, because it's so heavy already. I mean, technically, yes, I will. Technically, I will. That's just how it works. When there's more power in the system, but your method of modulating that power stays the same, right? The throttle stick stays the same. It's not longer, right? Like, I'm not adding a longer throttle stick. You're gonna lose resolution. Which is one of the reasons that I like the QX7, is it's got very long throttle throws. That's why a lot of us OG pilots can't give up the X9D or the QX7, because the gimbals are set really deep in the transmitter. It's one of the reasons why the transmitter is so big, and by doing that, you can have a really long throw on the sticks, and the longer the physical throw is on the sticks, the more resolution you've got. You just have to be careful. You can't make that throw so long, because eventually your fingers won't be able to move the stick far enough to get from 0 to 100. So it's a little tough. Mamacita says, thanks for the tip. I'll definitely keep you posted. I'll be seeking your service on fire. Oh, no, we got that. There's 8 o'clock, yo. Mamacita says, thank you, the best. Excited for these builds and your input and finish them. Hell yeah. Rick McKinney says, did you grind your tip? I did indeed. Stavel says, can you add some blue thread locker to the stripped out thread? Curious if it would take up some of the space. You cannot, because thread locker plus plastic equals total disaster. And yeah, these tiny whoop frames are, of course, made of plastic. So cannot use thread locker, unfortunately. You can use thread locker on carbon fiber builds, because carbon fiber doesn't care about, doesn't melt with thread locker. But yeah, plastic does. All right, yo. Huge shout out to Weebleed FPV and Zotek for sending me not one but 2 sets of these 32,500 kV 0702 Screamers. Also, huge shout out to him for having these motors made. Weebleed FPV has, I think it's safe to say, they have a little bit more of a presence in racing, and these motors are certainly not for racing. These are like a motor kind of for us, guys. Like Zotek made these for us freestyle weebs. So get yourself a set, man. They're red, which is pretty awesome. If you, in order to get this much kV from the tiny whoop motors, they're going to be light blue, which, I mean, it's a cool color and all, but you know, red and purple are better than light blue. We all know that. That's just a fact. That's just a stone cold fact. It's an Anchorman quote. They're bears. Their menstruation attracts the bears. Good old Brick Tamland. All right. So let's throw these guys on. I guess I'm not gonna fly it because I can't show you guys me flying it. I'll fly something though. We'll put an analog rig up in the air, and we'll just pretend. We'll pretend it's Walksnail. I'll say things like, "Oh, this flies great." Little heavy. Flies great though. So yeah, the title of the stream is not a lie. Look, I'm putting these on. See me? Look. And it's plugged in. So I didn't lie. I did all the things in the stream title. I just didn't do them in the way that you probably expected. These motors here are anodized red, so there's no powder coating to get gummed up in the threads, which is nice. Most motors are anodized. That's why we have such a weird selection of colors. But what's nice about anodization is it's basically an electrical process, so it doesn't really add any material. And it kind of does, but it doesn't add a significant amount of material to mess anything up. Powder coating gives you a huge array of colors, but you're literally coating the thing in powder, and then you're baking it. And the powder melts, and it forms one big, glorious coating. It kind of like flows together, basically, and forms a really nice coating, and there you go. It's really strong, it looks really good. Powder coating is rad, but what most shops will do if they're powder coating something that has threaded holes in it is they'll put bolts in those holes. And by putting the bolts into the holes, it makes sure that none of the powder coating gets in there. And Happy Model did not do that. Probably because that would have been extremely difficult. They would have probably had to pay someone. They would probably have to pay someone to sit there and thread bolts into all the holes. And yeah, it would appear that they did not do that. And so we've got some powder coating on the insides of the threads on those snowblowers, which are causing me to have some issues. I also asked Jesse if he's heard of this before. I'm hoping that he says no. I'm hoping that like the first run of the snowblowers did not have this issue, as in like maybe they were more careful with their powder coating, or maybe they did thread screws into the threads to prevent it from happening. Or maybe he's only had a couple people that have had it happen. Maybe mine just happened to have a little bit of extra powder coat get in there. And maybe most of the rest of them are not like that. Maybe the powder coater got a little bit enthusiastic. I see a question over there from Mamacita. Which is better and why, BMI 270 or MPU 6000? MPU 6000 is 8K, which I like. Apparently there are some performance advantages to running the PID loop in 8,000 cycles a second rather than 3,200 cycles a second. I've also had less electrical noise issues with the MPU 6000 than the BMI 270s. Mark Spatz has done, and maybe Chris Rosser, have done testing comparing the gyros, and the BMI 270 performs completely fine. In some cases, slightly better, actually, than the MPU 6000. Test results and real-world results can vary a little bit, because in the real world, we've got more electrical noise, especially as we start to crash rigs and beat them up. So for me, I prefer the MPU 6000. Unfortunately, it's out of production, though, so can't get your hands on them. Mobula 6 is now 32,500 kV. This is now my highest kV rig. That's pretty cool. And I'm just going to throw some propellers on it. Technically, I need to get this into Betaflight to make sure the propellers are rotating in the correct direction. I will do that off the live stream. We are now a little bit beyond 8 o'clock, so I'm going to put these props on, and then we're going to shut this mother down. I think I'm going to play some more DayZ tonight. I've been having a blast in that game on PS5. I'm in this... I'm in this server that's no kill on sight, which is really nice because DayZ is a very murdery game. Like, one of the easiest ways to get geared up in DayZ is just to kill someone else and steal all their shit. So that's what a lot of people do. But this server that I play in, which is called Aftermath, is a no kill on sight server. So you can't just headshot people from 1,000 yards all day every day. You have to have an interaction with them. So like what you can do is walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, this is a robbery." And as soon as the word robbery comes out of their mouth, that person's mouth, it's fair game. They can, you can basically shoot each other. I think, I don't know how it works. I think if one person says this is a robbery, the other person is allowed to open up on them. I don't think you can just walk up to somebody and say this is a robbery, bang. But yeah, it's a really fun server. I've been having a blast. DayZ is a hardcore survival game. It's very accurate. It gives me like all kinds of old school airsoft vibes, which is why I'm kind of digging it. Rick McKinney said, no, we got that. Kevin Smith with the last question of the live stream. He says, I used to use toothpicks in stripped holes in wood. I've heard of using strands of copper wire will do the same on metal. Yeah, there's all kinds of DIY solutions to stripped holes, none of which will work on these minuscule little holes here, unfortunately. Peter Savis, actually, with the last comment of the stream, he says, hey, I wrote player/animation/netcode/scripting for player for DayZ. Hope you like it. It's brutal. Really, Peter? That's insane. Damn. Tell me the secrets, yo. Mama Sita with the last comment of the live stream says, thanks, be back in stock, I believe. Second to highest price I've seen. I don't know what that's in reference to. Maybe the gyros, I guess. All right, friends, thank you for hanging out. Here's a little bit more. Wait. Can I? Nah, fuck it. We'll do it next time. I have DVR footage on this thing that's better than the goggle DVR footage that I played at the beginning of the live stream. I'm going to give you guys the analog footage again, though, of that hotel dive with a rig that's more capable. The Walksnail footage of that dive is not all that great because it just washes out and gets all kinds of upset. The analog footage is actually much better. And that is coming up right now. Come on. Find some music over here on Epidemic Sound. Yeah, we'll go with this. All right, my friends, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for supporting me. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com for a million different ways to support me. Click all the buttons. Your life will get immeasurably better, as will mine. Be good. I'll see you on Friday. Here is... I'm just going to say it. Here's the best Tiny Whoop dive ever. I cannot possibly imagine a better spot and a better built rig to handle a dive like this. So, here you go. Best Tiny Whoop dive of all time. Coming at you. Be good, friends. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And I did the dive a couple of times for you. Because I care about you. I think the third time was the best, but you get to pick. Alright, people. Be good. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Hold on, I gotta get you a different song. Hi, Duke. What are you doing, buddy? What you doing, Duke boy? Would you just come down here at random? Hello? Hi, baby. Not yet, but I'm closing it up right now. What are you doing? Come talk to me. This song actually kind of fits. This song arguably fits better. All right, people. See you Friday. Be good.